Welcome to Triangle BNI. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. Folks, we know the digital world is loud and crowded, so you need professionals like Drago and his team at Oak City Tech to help you get your message out to your current clients and, more importantly, your future clients. If you'll go to oakcitytech.com, tell them what you're looking for, I know they'll be able to help you. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning. Each week on Triangle BNI, we bring you a local small business success story. If you are not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. Our little slice of heaven here in the Triangle is Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. Each week, 31 chapters get together, about 520, 525 members. Our goal is to help each other grow our businesses. And our guest today, our local small business success story, Melissa Ragan with Ragan Realty team at KW Elite. Folks, we only bring you the best. Melissa, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me this morning.
Glad to
Doing
have.
well. Hope
Yep,
you are.
I am glad to have you here. Melissa is in the core group right now for BNI. It's called Professionals in the Peak. They meet Tuesdays at noon, and I know, Melissa, you guys changed your location. Where is it now?
So now we have been meeting at the Apex Baptist Church in downtown Apex. We were meeting at Maria Litzinger's office with Edward Jones, and we outgrew the space. So that was a good problem to have.
Oh, great sign. Yep. So new location, bigger room. So folks, if you're in the Apex area, you truly want to meet some business professionals and sales executives, noon on Tuesdays at Apex Church. And promise you, you won't be disappointed. You'll be entertained and educated because you'll meet some people that'll help you grow your business. All right, Melissa, the real estate world, how are things these days there? What is your schedule like and all that comes with it?
Oh, wow. That's a big question, Mike. That's too funny. So, yes, there's no day the same for sure in this industry, which is why I love it. I get so much energy from meeting just a wide variety of people. It's exciting to be able to help them and work out creative ways to find the perfect buyer for our sellers and for our buyers, find the perfect homes and investors and land. So we have all kinds of fun. Currently, I'm working with a seller. We're looking to sell their house, and it's gorgeous. It's an Apex, and y'all will laugh at this. For those of you that are originally from here or been here for a while, we had a buyer that was looking to place an offer, and she loves the home. Her family loves the home, but they moved here recently from California, and they took a drive near Apex Friendship High School area where the home's not far, and they thought it is just too remote for them to live in Apex. So I thought that was so cute. And I told this seller, and he's like, "Oh, well, that's a bummer." He was like, "Well, you know what? When I moved here, I thought Cary was remote too." So anyway, I thought that was really cute.
It is all about perception. The market from the beginning of the year till now has changed considerably.
Yes.
People are under the impression they can't buy a house, and that's not correct these days, is it?
No, it's definitely not correct. Honestly, it is a lot. I feel like buyers now have so much more access and resources in the buying scenario. So it's unfortunate that they feel that, because the interest rates have, gone up, that means that, it's gloom and doom. It's not. I mean, what was it a couple months ago? Those buyers were bidding against so many people. I mean, they were getting bidded out, 20 offers even, and, paying 100,000 above the asking price. There were no inspections to be had. You were waiving inspections. You were taking this home literally as is, and you didn't have time to process all the information. You better get that offer in, no sleeping on it. You really, we're not in the best scenario as far as that goes. I felt like, as a buyer, I felt it was rushed. I felt that that's got to be, stressful, right? Obviously, we helped them through that, and we did a lot of vetting so that we could make it stress-free for them. But at the same time, I feel now is so much better because they do have the time to get those inspections. We can actually negotiate some, right? And again, the market's going to wax and wane, so they can always refinance down the road if that's what is a concern.
The other thing we know is the value of homes in this market is going to continue to go up. Some people don't believe that because they see the national news, but our market's way different from most of the US, though, with the strength in technology and medicine and education. We're going to have a lot of people keep moving here.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right, Mike. I mean, we have been voted by so many different sources, Money Magazine, best place to do business. We have all these amazing companies here, and there's so many people that continue to move here with RTP, and it's growing too with Chatham County. We have, again, that new company. With the electric car option. Yeah, there's just tons. We've got a great place for education, best colleges and universities here. And people just love our area too, as far as a great overall place to live. It's been voted that as well, as far as just a great place to live and raise a family if that's what you choose. And it is a nice place, which, we have 5 total kids. So it's been awesome.
And yes, the interest rates are higher, so you'll be paying more initially to get into a house, but at the same time, the value of that house is just gonna keep going up every year, so at the end of the day, in the long run, you're gonna win out. It's just today it may be a little bit higher payment, but like you said earlier, when things settle down and, whenever that happens, rates are going to go down.
They definitely will. And again, when maybe the rates were lower, however, you were paying, so much more than, the home was, even, as far as the asking price and everything else. I mean, you were really not in a much different scenario when you look at it from that perspective. So, but yes, to your point, the rates, they will change. I mean, rates at one point, what back in the day were
I
18% at
know.
one time. So, I mean, it will change. I think that the timing is right when it's right for you, and you find a perfect home, you can't duplicate that
Yeah.
necessarily.
One of the things I've learned in BNI is the value of a good realtor because there's serious negotiations going on, or not right now, but there were, and we know that'll come back. What is that like when you've got a seller and you've got 6 to 8 to 10 different offers?
Well, you need to make sure that what I do personally is we have a fabulous spreadsheet and we break it down for our sellers. And then I, communicate with them. We either have a call depending on, what time it is, because a lot of times, it can be in the evening later and, whatever works for them. But what I do with that spreadsheet is, we break it down to, what are the terms, the main terms that they need to understand. What's the offer price? What are they offering for the home? Are they financially able to buy the home? Are they, presenting, what's the financing? Is it a cash offer? Is it, a loan? And then with that, are they approved? Do we have pre-approval from a banking institution, that we know? We do love to work with local lenders. I have to say it definitely makes the process go well, but we have worked with lenders outside the area and that has worked fine as well. And then if you're buying a home cash, which has been very common this past year, especially, then we need proof of funds. So we also then break it down to what are the deposits. There's a due diligence deposit, which basically essentially goes directly to the seller. It takes the home off the market. And then, the buyers need to understand which they do. They're being represented by a buyer's agent. So we explain to our buyers, then that you do risk losing that money if you decided to terminate. So it's very important to understand all the facts. And then we break it down as well as the dates. You have closing dates and you have dates for inspection. So, there's ways that you need to make sure that your clients are protected. If you have a due diligence deposit that's not very, common in the marketplace, and maybe it's not, trying to use the right word so it doesn't come off the wrong way, but you want to make sure that they're a serious buyer.
Oh,
So
yeah.
again, so we make sure that they understand all of those pieces of the puzzle, and then the closing dates and the dates for the inspections, and making sure that the seller's well protected, from the instance we were talking about, in this case, I would be representing the seller. So it does help. And it's a lot of vetting, and that's the value of having an agent that has your
Yeah.
back and making sure that you understand everything.
Does price always win out or does cash win out sometimes?
That's a really good point, Mike. So yeah, it really always depends on what is the those important points for the seller. Some sellers, it's always like, they're looking for, the price. But others, no, it's the cash. Like, this is going to be a quick sale. We have
Mhm.
other things going on. We don't want to have any contingencies, any possible contingencies. We know, hey, if I'm comparing this offer that might be, let's say, 10,000 more, that they have a loan, a conventional loan, which is still a good, solid, pre-approved buyer, comparing that to a buyer that's a cash buyer, and then they're looking to close in a couple weeks. Then if that seller is really looking for a quicker close, not any contingencies at all, then they're probably going to go with the cash offer. So like you said, it's not always, the highest. And honestly, I've even seen some clients, if they need that due diligence deposit at that point, for whatever maybe position that they're in, and that due diligence deposit is even higher, but the purchase price is a little less. I've seen them choose that offer too.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I'm going to make a statement to everybody for why you need a realtor. And you may jump in on this or not, Melissa. I'm not holding you to anything, but I had someone near me go the open door route just to see. And these are called iBuyers. They're the instant buyers. Everybody's seen the commercials and the signs up. And the house was listed at 194. This is in another state. iBuyers came in, offered them 174, and then $35,000 in fees and this, that, and the other. And yes, they could have had it done in 48 hours. So that's the beauty of that deal. But
Right.
holy cow. I know they're supposed to promote that, hey, if you want your house sold quick, no showings, no nothing. I get that. And some people need that. But
Right.
man, oh man, they were going to walk away with $50,000 less, and they chose not to do that.
Well, yeah, I'll just throw in a couple of
Yeah.
quick tidbits on that. So, for instance, I am iBuyer certified, so I do give clients all the options,
Mhm,
because sometimes, I've
mhm,
had clients where maybe they're going through a divorce, and the house is not in its prime, optimal condition, and depending if they agree on, the options of, hey, let's do this, let's repaint, let's, make
mhm.
some modifications, or if they don't, then we know which way to go. So I give them all the scenarios. So usually I'll give them a cash offer with an iBuyer opportunity. And then I also will get my home prep consultant to come in, and we talk about, okay, this is what the seller's homework is. These are some of the things we need to do to get this home so that it will show in its best light. And then the last option too, well, two other options would be sell it as is, which means you're going to price it accordingly. But I will say, in that sell as is, you're still going to net more in most cases than you would with that iBuyer
Yeah.
opportunity, because you also do have to factor in, like you said, with those fees, they
Mhm.
also ask for repairs.
Yeah.
So they'll get the home inspected. So you really do leave a lot of money there on the table. But sometimes, like you said, if they just don't have, um, if their heart's not there in the right place, and timing and scenario and all the factors that could be in place, then maybe that's the way they need to go. But
Yeah.
yeah, you're usually not going to make the most in that scenario.
That is correct. One of the things I like about small business owners like yourself, that they lean into who they are. And your website builds your team as the Triangle's family first female led real estate team. And I love that. I love that. So tell me how this team came together and who does what.
Oh, well, thank you, Mike. That's too funny. We do have a lot of time. I mean, a lot of fun, and we do
Mhm.
not discriminate against you males out there.
Mm,
So, I mean, who knows? We might mix it up at some point. But the way that we started is 3 years since we've been a team. I was an individual agent prior to that, and it's really just come together very organically. It started off with, having one of the most important people that's there, and that's to keep the team, organized, and help with so many of the things that are involved in real estate. There's a lot of administrative support that is required. And anyway, so Emily, I helped she and her husband purchase their first home, and she was a marketing manager, and ended up leaving the position and asked me, hey, do you need some help? And anyway, we started working together in that direction, and she is just amazing. We call her our team mom, and She keeps us all organized and in check. And then she goes by MT. And then we also have Emily Barnard, and she is goes by MB because neither one of
Nice,
them would like to be called Emmy, and they both have the first name of Emily.
nice.
So she is amazing. She and I were in pre-broker class together, and she was focusing mainly on property management, and decided to really get involved in full brokerage real estate. And anyway, she and I chatted and decided, hey, let's really like grow this. And so she's been our lead buyer specialist and listing partner on the team. And then we also have some awesome ladies that help us now. And a showing specialist, Lexi, and she also is she has a boyfriend, fiance, that's a builder in the area, custom builder. So she's
Nice.
got a lot of great, things to offer as far as the new construction, and she has a huge passion for that. And she's finishing up her education at NC State. And then Katrina helps us, again with these are kind of like consultative type contract scenarios. She's our notary and helps us with a wide variety of things as well. So it's worked really well. We are looking to hire another agent, and anyway, we all have a lot in common as far as our core values, and it's about making sure people are well taken care of and
Good.
relationship based, not transactional. So we'd rather have solid relationships with our clients and know that we are taking the best care of them than to help 100 million and miss any steps they need.
Now, here's what I've learned about your industry. All right. So, first of all, I love and probably not hearing it much these days, but in the past, oh, I'm going to get my license. Houses are flying off the market. I'll just put a sign in the front yard, the junk like that. What they failed to tell these new realtors is it could take you 3, 6, 9 months to build the relationship to be able to put your sign in their yard. So that's the first big myth of the industry, which is people have it
Mhm.
all wrong. You got to work your butt off to be successful in this industry. Yes,
Yes, you do.
yes, houses were flying off the market, but yes, there were 12,000 other licensed realtors in the triangle. So you got a few competitors, right? The other thing about your industry is if I were doing it, I would just want to list houses because I'm sure in the evenings and weekends, you probably had to show a few houses when you really probably didn't want to show a few houses.
That's so true. There are a lot of myths and misconceptions about about the position of being
Yeah.
a real estate agent and what's involved. And yes, it is. It's a lot of work, and you're right. You are competing against a lot of agents, so you do work hard also for that opportunity. You don't discount someone that is one of your friends and you think, oh, I'm going to be listing their home
Yeah.
because they're, going to sell because they're going to, and as they should, they're going to interview other agents. Don't discount maybe, that family that you helped buy their home and they're ready to sell. Well, have you been, keeping in touch with them, or did you take great care of them? And then they're probably still going to, of course, if you've done that, give you an opportunity to interview because they're going to also make sure that they checked out a couple of other people. I mean, everyone's very, savvy, and they, it's their biggest investment for most people. So I respect that. But yeah, that's definitely been the case. And then you know what? It means that much more when they decide to go with you.
Yes, and this time of year, especially being college football season, yeah, I'd have to say I'll show houses any day but Saturday because my team's playing. I really don't want to be showing you houses. I love you as a client, but I got football on at 3:30. So
That's a great point, Mike. So yes, for everyone that is looking to get into this industry, yes, you need to plan on, you're not going to have those weekends off. You're going to be working. And even when you're listing homes, I mean, your clients won't open houses. So
yep.
that's great, too, if you have a team and, we're all working together, but you're also going to be out there doing that and, finding those buyers for them as well. So, and then there's negotiating. So even if you're not out showing homes, you're still on the phone and you're working. So that's true. So I think if you are looking for that structured, let's say 8 to 5, 9 to 5 position and not to work weekends, then yeah, it's probably not the right fit.
Yeah, and from the time a potential client contacts you till the time that house is purchased and or sold to, whichever side, people really have no idea the amount of man hours that goes in because you've got to know the market. You've got to know what they're looking for. You've got to show them what they're looking for. Then you got to negotiate and, oh, we didn't get this. So we got to go find plan B, plan C, plan D. They really have no idea the number of hours you got to put in.
That is so true. Exactly. You're right. I mean, yeah, let's say if you're, preparing to list a home, then all of the preparation
Mhm.
involved there. And, that takes time. And then, you're coordinating, many pieces there with staging, photographer, home measurements, then the prep work prior to that. Then prior to that, the paperwork of the magic list price.
Mhm.
Pricing is everything. There's so much involved. Exactly. And lots of pieces to that puzzle. And then you don't stop there,
Yeah.
right? Exactly. And
No.
then once you do find the perfect match between buyers and sellers, which we do like to, that's what we call ourselves too, matchmakers, because you're trying to find that perfect match. Then there's pieces there, with the inspections and underwriting and things like that. And then new construction, that's also a process there. So yeah, it is. It's interesting. And um, anyway, I can't imagine doing anything else. I love
Yep.
it, but yeah, it's not for the weary and not for the ones that occasionally your day is like a little crazy, right? But sometimes you can have some fun surprises through that.
And you can schedule all you want to until I call you and say, "Hey, Melissa, Wednesday morning, there's a house I want to see." And you're like, ooh, because you've got kids at home, you've got a team to manage, and I bet I imagine your schedule's written in pencil so you can erase it, excuse me, erase it and move things around, right?
That's so funny that you say that. Yes, because you do. You have constant, things that just, get added to your day. So, it's nice. I love it when, I get an appointment that, has been booked. The calendar is a beautiful thing, right? And then, like you said, then all of a sudden, this happens, that happens, and then 5 kids, life happens, and it's just managed. Like you said, moving things around and just making it work, and just trying to, just get through everything and make sure that you're where you need to be exactly at all times.
Can I assume you've driven enough of the triangle where most places you don't need GPS anymore because you've already been there or nearby?
That is true. That is true. And yeah, and you're not scared to drive anywhere either.
No,
So,
no.
if someone says, "Hey, let's go meet," I don't know, whatever, the Wake Forest, and let's say you're in Chapel Hill earlier today. Okay,
Yeah.
no problem.
Have you tracked the number of miles you drive in a year?
During, that lovely time of year, when you're, finalizing all of your, everything, all of your transactions, all of your numbers for IRS and that,
Mhm.
which we all don't enjoy that. So yeah, I have a lovely app that luckily just kind of tracks all of that
Mm.
for me. And they're like, wow, you've been busy.
Do you remember the first transaction you were a part of?
Oh, that's a neat question. The first transaction I was a part of. Let me think about that. Yes, it's actually a very fun story if you would like me to
I
share it.
do. I do.
Okay. So I got my real estate license in 2016. At that time, I was a single mom raising 3 kiddos. And anyway, I was working full time, got my license, and was moving toward a full time career in real estate. Definitely leap of faith. And so at that time, I was renting a home with my 3 kids. Went through, unfortunately, a rough divorce, but hey, it's all worked out for the best and so much better. But anyway, so I let the landlord at the time know that, hey, I'm actually getting married. I met an amazing man, and we, married. So both of our second marriages. So that's where we grew from me from 3 kids, gained 2 more, 5 kids.
Yeah.
And so I let him know, hey, I'm getting married, so I'm going to need to give you my notice. And by the way, I did get my real estate license. So if you wanted to sell this house, I'd be happy to help you do that. Otherwise, go ahead and prepare. Let me know what I can do to help as if you decide to re-rent it. So he said, well, hey, I'd like to hear more about what you could do for me if I wanted to sell it. Considering maybe that would actually be a great idea to maybe use towards something else. So that was my first listing opportunity. And it was really cool too, because I was a part of everything I always recommend my clients to do. And with 3 kids to boot, they were little at that time. I think, gosh, my oldest was maybe 10, 11, and then, gosh, down to about 4 or 5 was the youngest. Anyway, but we got that home, got all set up. I had all the rooms looking good, went to the dump more times than I'd like to say. We had a garage sale. We also donated a lot of things. And anyway, it sold over the weekend, 16,000 above ask. And anyway, yeah, I ended up kind of, we moved out for the weekend so it could just be a go and show scenario. And anyway, had multiple offers for this seller. And yeah, what a great experience for your first sale.
Very nice. But what I liked about what you did right there through all that is you said, oh, by the way, I'm a realtor. You identified yourself, which put you in a position to be part of that, because if you'd have never said that to him, you know, do you, he wouldn't have, I doubt he would have asked you, hey, Melissa, do you know a good realtor? I'm thinking about selling it.
Right.
But that's what you got to do. You got to keep telling people what you do, because it's our job to remind them. It's not their job to remember. So kudos to you on that. I like that.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, it was amazing. And then since then, we've had 4 transactions. So it's been a
That's
great.
how it works. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, very good. All right. So you went to UNC Greensboro for broadcasting and journalism, right? So
Right.
I want to know how we get from UNCG wanting to go into broadcasting and journalism to now running a powerful real estate team. How did we get here, Melissa?
You're too funny. Yes. And that's why I always tell my kids too. We have 2 juniors now in high school and have a 19-year-old as well. She's attending Wake Tech and looking to get her real estate license. And it's just, you don't always know what you want to do or really understand that. Again, we talked about some of the misconceptions even with real estate, and how that can change over time. So I always encourage all of the younger kids out there, younger generation that are, in college or preparing to go into college. And it's okay if you don't know what you want to do. You will figure out what your passion is. So yes, I really loved videography and editing and liked the news and, loved sharing that. So I went to school with a focus of, broadcast journalism, communications. I interned for ABC 45 with their sports department, which was fun. I went to a lot of the high school football games and, ran alongside the videographer and then the sportscaster. And then I realized I don't think I know quite as much about sports that I need to know. And maybe let's think more about news. So that seemed to be a better fit. I saw some really interesting things. Gosh, there was one fire I'll never forget. And that was with Fox State News. And anyway, yeah, that was the direction to go. So after I graduated school, I actually had a friend that was, that attended the university with me, and their mother was a travel agent. So I didn't get a job immediately. I sent out what they called a demo reel that you created to like all the news stations along with your resume. And anyway, ended up though directly after college working in hospitality. So I was a sales manager for the Holiday Inn in Tinton Falls, New Jersey. Ended up moving out of the area. And anyway, I remember I was able to go on an interview while I was working there for a newscaster job. And it was in Charleston, South Carolina. And when I was in that interview, it was one of those moments that, I think we've all had where you're like, it's like an out of body experience where I was like, did I just say that? Was that me talking? Like, I don't want to do this as a career, and, when I was because, it's an interesting industry to get into, which I know you could probably share more about that. And I'd love to hear what you think, with your experience and, radio and everything else. But, you've got to go where you can go. So if that was South Carolina, that's great. It could have been Texas. It could have been, who knows, right? Anywhere that you were lucky enough to get that position, and you'd be eating a lot of ramen noodles too, because they didn't pay that great. So I realized, even then that I knew I wanted to eventually, have a family, and that was important for me, and have kids, and that was more important than doing that. So I realized oh, I don't think this is my thing.
Yeah,
So
generally you hear people that on the national side, they're like, "Where'd you get your start?" They're like, "Minot, North Dakota." And you're right, eating
yes.
ramen noodles, just hoping and praying you can pay the rent each month, and when can I get out of here and build a bitter tape? So, your husband is Chad,
Yes.
right? Okay. So I always like to ask people on the show, how did you and Chad meet, and do you both tell the story the same way?
Well, yeah, so I will claim him today. Just kidding. He's a great guy. Yes, we usually do for the most part, but that is funny because you're right. A lot of times,
Mm,
yeah,
they
no
do not.
way. Exactly. And we have some stories where we tease each other about it. So yes, as I mentioned, I was a single mom at the time, and so when I originally became a single mom and was raising the three kids on my own, they were little. I mean, 2, 5, and 7 at the time. So I mean, really for years, I didn't do anything, obviously, but just take care of my kids. And so I have two sisters though and a brother. And one of my nosy sisters is like, you need a break. So I'm taking the kids. You go out and do something tonight. And then the other sister's like, okay, well, let's go do something. So we went and got dinner. Then afterwards, she's like, why don't we go out dancing? That'd be fun. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm along for the ride. And so anyway, we met. It's kind of embarrassing, but yeah. So we met at Tony's Oyster Bar and just randomly started dancing and started talking. And he was recently going through a situation, separation and divorce. And so anyway, we hit it off and we started dating thereafter. We teased about our first date was Ruth Chris, and he didn't
Ooh.
know that Ruth Chris was going to be a little pricey. He had never been there, so he got a nice surprise when he got the check. And he said, "Well, I hope you enjoy." This is what he said after the fact. After he knew, I guess I really liked him, and I was, was going to hang around for a while. He was like, "Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. That was probably the first, and not many more times you'll be going there." But that was cute. And then I teased him because with having young kids too. I mean, that was both of us. We're both want to make sure our kids weren't confused, and my kids weren't meeting other people as far as another potential man, this and that. So I told him he was on pool status for a long time. So if we would go on a date, I would meet him at my community pool, and he would go from there and go out to dinner, and then I'd get back home, babysitter or whatnot. So we'll tease and here and there. I'm like, oh, that's when you were still in pool
Mhm.
status. You
Yeah.
hadn't met the kids yet. So
Pool
anyway,
status, I like that.
yeah,
Alright, I have to write that down. I always put a little note by each show, the funniest part, but he was in pool status until otherwise noted, right?
exactly.
Alright.
We had to make sure he was okay. So he
Now
ended up
when
checking out.
yep, when did you realize, "Ooh, this could go somewhere?"
Yeah, you know what? It was one of those things where it didn't just happen immediately.
Mhm.
I was, like I said, very cautious and took my time. But yeah, I think it probably was, when it just seemed, yeah, the more and more I got to know him, he just is such a very calm. And I was like, he kind of calms me because I can be a little hyper sometimes. And uh, he's very relaxed, very chill. And I don't know, he just,
Yep,
and probably one of he's a gentleman too. So he's a good old boy born and raised in Apex, and
okay.
he's got some and it doesn't take a lot to to rattle him, so that's good too. So anyway, I think it was somewhere along that time. It definitely took a few months. It didn't happen immediately.
Yeah.
And then when we eventually had our kids meet, that was hilarious. We met at the skating rink that's no longer there. Where is that in Cary? I think it was Jelly Bean.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah. So we're all skating around, just checking each other out. You should see the kids checking one another out.
Yeah.
It was so hilarious.
That, transition, if that's the right word, had to be scary, confusing, exciting, all kinds of things going on when they finally met, right?
Definitely. Yeah, it was really cute. So yeah, so my two stepdaughters, and they're all really similar in age. So that's what was interesting. So we have one boy, four girls, and so Paolo, my son, was the baby, the youngest. So now all of a sudden Faith is the youngest because
Mm,
she's about a year and a half younger than him. So they had that little thing going on of, wait a second, I'm always the cute one.
mm,
What's going on here?
yeah,
And take turns there. And then Abby and Olivia are only 2 months apart, So those two though got along really well. So yeah, it was
good.
surprising. They all ended up really really meshing well. We were very fortunate. And I would say it's gone very well overall. When they turned into like full on teens, where we literally now have all teens other than
Mm.
Faith is 12 now, I would say that's been like, whoa, all of them, what's going to happen today? What mood are we looking
Yeah,
at
and you
today?
know what? In fairness, Melissa, that's normal in every
Yeah.
house when you get a
Oh, it
teenager
is.
and they think, "Hey, I know everything." It's like, not even close, dude. Not even close.
No, it's so true. It really is. I agree. So I think we were very fortunate. And yeah, I mean, I think it was definitely a transition for
Mm,
all. We ended up moving from Cary to Apex. So Chad, he and his brothers were given 5 acres of land. So we were on family land. And,
ooh,
that's not something you can just easily duplicate, and especially
yep,
being in real estate. So yeah, we moved here and moved in to this house, and luckily it had areas for expansion, so we're able to finish the
mm,
basement.
yeah,
Thank heavens. And it has 5 bedrooms, but the way it was lived was 3 bedrooms, and one was an office and a bonus. So we were able to
mm,
convert stuff, and Chad's pretty handy. He helped build the house, so that was good. So
good,
he was able to in that bonus room build a closet because it didn't have one, and so anyway, it worked out really well as far as all of that. And then yeah, we have the kids a lot, so we have my three still, 100% full time, and then we have my stepdaughters jointly with their mom, and she just lives like half a mile away. So I mean, it really has been
good.
good. I think like anything, it was a transition in different ways and
Mm.
change and all of that, but it's gone pretty good overall.
And
But yeah, we've got some fun stories here and
yeah, oh
there.
yeah. And even though the kids were younger, they had never met through school or sports or extracurricular or anything, right?
No, because yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, Apex and Cary aren't that far,
Yeah.
and it's funny when Chad and I have talked. I was like, wow, we were literally right. I'm surprised we
Mm,
didn't cross paths,
yes.
but no, we never did. So
Yeah,
and yeah, the kids did not. And Abby and Olivia, so 2 months apart. I mean, she was really welcoming for Olivia to kind of really have some instant friends through
good.
that. I mean, so that was helpful for them. They were fifth grade at the time. Gracie probably a little tough on her because she was finishing up eighth grade, but we just,
Oh,
drove to Cary so she could finish up and then,
yeah.
start a new high school. But she's made some great friends, and yeah, she's done good. And I think it was tough for Abby and Faith to like, who's this boy? And they were all like, ew, you're gross, you're a boy. So they had to get over that.
And he's saying like, "Great, I got 4 girls in the house now."
Exactly. Oh yeah. So you can only imagine. He's the boy that he gets a
Yeah,
lot more and like, oh, it's that time of the month.
yeah.
Okay. Let me
And
run.
and they are scrutinizing any date he's gonna bring home, aren't they?
Oh, I know. Can you imagine?
No.
Exactly. I know. He has a little friend now, and she's they've been hanging out for a little while, so she's comfortable. But can you imagine in the beginning, four
Nope,
sisters?
nope, nope,
Yeah,
can't
that's a
do that,
tough
so
crowd.
I know, I had 1.
Terrifying.
I had 1, I can't imagine 4, so so Melissa, we've been putting, your phone number up here, on the screen during the show. Folks, you gotta have a realtor on your side. And here's the other thing I've learned, Melissa. Even when people buy a builder house, if they bought a brand new house and they're like, "Well, I got to use the builder's realtor and I got to use their mortgage team," and none of that is true. They can hire you, their own mortgage person, their own home inspector, everything to because you need somebody to represent you, even though you're buying the builder's house.
Absolutely. And I think that that is something that a lot of times, folks don't realize. Why wouldn't you have a buyer's agent advocate for you? Because otherwise and I also represent builders too. So, I know both sides of it. And, as far as you as the buyer though, I mean, they're not going to recommend, oh, you go get that home third party inspection, you go do this, you could do that. I mean, they're obviously going to, hopefully you choose a great builder and you're going to have an awesome quality home. But you know what? There's that human thing that happens. And it's always good to have that third party inspection and things like that. And to have the buyer's agent advocate for you throughout the process, make sure that everything's going well, because if you're building from ground up, excuse me, there's many parts to that process too. And you can, have a pre-drywall inspection too, just to make sure everything's, coming together as it should. And then if there's anything that needs to be tweaked, the builders are always usually open to doing that, as long as it's within the code and within, the building requirements today. They're totally good with that. So again, you just have someone there to advocate for you. And then again, like we've talked about, changes in market and things like that, making sure that the pricing still makes sense. I mean, there's just a lot of reasons to always have that support and have someone advocating for you to make sure your investment is going well. And also, typically there is to have a buyer's agent that's built in on the seller side. So it's honestly no cost to you as a buyer. So again, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If somebody listening or watching today is thinking about going into the real estate world, give us a skill set that they might have that will help make them successful.
If they're considering going into real estate world as far as
Yep.
career,
Yep.
yeah, there's definitely quite a few skill sets, I would say. I mean, first and foremost, I think you have to, and this is one that is not something you can learn necessarily. It's either you have it or you don't. And that's, you have to have that people person quality. You have to have that. You've got to be able to communicate. So I'd say you've got to have a couple of natural skills. You need to be a people person, meaning that you care about people, you want to help them. And then communicating, you've got to have good communication and be able to communicate effectively to all parties, no matter who you're representing, because you're going to be communicating on behalf of your client to a potential, agent or builder. And then you're also going to be communicating with your client, making sure that they understand everything. So those are really important skills. And then you also need to, obviously, be analytical and be able to dissect, data pricing and market trends and things like that. And you need to be creative. That's a huge one too. Think outside the box. Try to come up with creative options to, help your clients in, let's say, selling their home and finding a property, maybe finding some land for them, maybe they wouldn't have thought of. And like I said, as far as a matchmaker, that's where you also really put all these pieces together. So, that also goes back to being a people person too. You want to be able to have a lot of relationships and connections so that you can bring people together. And anyway, I could go on and on. Clearly.
We do know that math will be involved.
Yes.
And we do know that long hours will happen.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
yeah, but there's a payoff though. It's a good industry to be in from a building a nice career. I mean, there's money to be made, but what they don't, it's not as easy as, oh, everything sells in a day, I'll just put my sign in the yard. It's way more work than that.
It really is, absolutely. So I mean, if you ask an agent that's working full time how many hours a week they work, I mean, it can be intense, and sometimes not though. It just depends. But for the most part, you're working. Definitely there's not it's a minimum of 40 for sure. I think it's just how do you plan that out?
Yeah.
And then the joke is plan to go away and get busy. That's always so interesting how that works. But you learn to manage it, and that's where, it's nice to have a team as well, because then you have, and also make sure that you've got a good solid team, and that those core values are there, but then you're all providing this service and that, you can then have, some time away with your family for a vacation, you work hard, then you do need to obviously have that time too. And then, that everything is going to be okay and they're well taken care of, your clients. But that's so true. You're right. And math. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I literally, when I took the real estate exam years ago, they gave you a book of a word problem, and then you had to literally do all the math, pick out the math from the word problem for a closing statement. So all those numbers you see on your closing statement, you filled that thing out from number 1 to number 40, and it was all those prorations, everything else. You got to know your math.
Yep. Well, folks, you need a professional like Melissa on your side. If you are in Apex on Tuesdays at noon, please visit her chapter. Melissa, we've enjoyed the time today. Congrats on the success and love the stories.
Thank you so much for having me today, Mike. It is always a pleasure to spend time with you. You're just so uplifting. Your energy is fabulous. And anyway, thank you for letting me talk about one of my biggest passions, which
There
is
you
real
go.
estate.
It comes across. You can see it light up your face. So we enjoyed having you on there and telling people about the industry. And we will see everybody next time on Triangle BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.